Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k basic tactics video. Today we shall be taking a look at the Melta gun. You guys know the format. I'm going to start off by talking about what the Melta gun is, points cost, stats, and then move on to what other weapons in the platoon that it combos well with, and finally where you should be using them in your platoon. Okay, so let's get straight into it. The Melta gun is a special weapon that can be purchased in all sections of the platoon, and it costs 10 points. For that 10 points, you get a Strength 8 AP1 gun, but it only has a 12-inch range, and it has the Melta special rule, and it is Assault 1. So, very quickly, the Melta special rule means that when you are within half range, so in this case 6 inches, you roll 2d6 and add them together when determining armor penetration rolls. So if you're facing down a predator, for example, and you are within Melta range, you will roll 2d6, and imagine that you get a 3 and a 4. That would equal 7, and you would add that to the strength of the weapon, which is 8, so you would have 15, which means you would get a penetrating hit against the predator. Understood? Because of this, it's immediately obvious what the Melta gun is. It is an anti-tank weapon. You have to get close to use it, but if you get with it, or traditionally it's an anti-tank weapon, you have to get close to use it, but if you get within that sweet Melta range, you will pretty much fuck up any vehicle. You're gonna damage it. Now, the Melta gun, its role has changed within the Guard Army over the years, and this is partly down to our delivery systems. So, as I said, it's a short-range weapon, and because of this, Guard, we can struggle to get it into range. We only really have chimeras for if we're putting them in infantry squads to get them into range, or you've got to foot slog them. If you foot slog them, they kind of suffer the same issue that flamers have, which is it can take 2 or 3 turns to get into range with them, and then you only really get 1 or 2 goes with them, and it might even not even get to Melta range the whole game. So you've got to be careful with Melta guns. But having said that, I don't think the Melta gun really has a lot of disadvantages. Its only disadvantage is its short range, but it's like I said, it's changed over the years. It used to be like an anti-tank weapon, and you would pop out the back of your chimera and melt something, or drop down and melt something. But in the platoon, we can't really do that anymore. What it's really good for is just destroying anything. What you've got to remember is that the strength 8 of the Melta gun basically means if you hit something with it, it's going to die. It's going to take some damage. And the Melta gun is one of the key weapons in my go big or go home philosophy, which is with Guard, we only hit half the time, so we've got to make sure that when we do hit, the enemy fucking feels it, and they hurt, and they hate it. So the Melta gun's really good at that. So let's take a look at the Melta gun in an offensive role and in a defensive role. Defensive. So on the attack, as we've said, we can struggle to get it into range, but typically how you're going to be running it is in a 40-man blob with 4 Melta guns and 4 las cannons. What you'll do is you'll leave your las cannons behind. They'll be firing away at whatever target you want to kill. You'll conga line your men backwards, advancing forwards. It'll take you to about turn 3, turn 4, but then you'll get into Melta gun range with your Melta guns, and you'll be able to finish off, if it's the Riptide for example, you'll be able to finish it off what the last cannons have started, and if it's a vehicle, then you'll be able to finish off what the last cannons have started. Or you'll be able to start melting any tasty gubbins which have maybe popped out of a rhino or something. Again, it's a very versatile weapon if you want it to be, if you spam it enough, simply because it can threaten any target. So if you've got a Imperial Knight barreling down at you, or you're advancing upon an Imperial Knight, the Melta guns will allow you to counter that target. If you've got a squad of enemy Space Marines coming at your face, you'll be able to, Melta gun them. Even if you've got like a squad of Orcs, normally a Melta gun would be a waste on an Orc, but you can't really go wrong with the fact that you'll be instant deathing the knob with the power claw in the Orc mob. All Space Marine characters, from all infantry, all Space Marine infantry, they're going to get instant deathed. You got a captain who hasn't got the Eternal Shield or whatever it is that gives them Eternal Warrior. Basic captain, you only need to get one Melta gun through that 4+ Iron Halo save, and bam, dead. Likewise, Centurions. Those toughness 5 motherfuckers. Well, guess what? Going down now to my Melta guns. Wounding you on 2s. Tasty. So yeah, Melta guns are, their disadvantage is getting them up the field, but fortunately you'll find that most enemies will be quite obliging, and apart from Tau, or maybe some Eldar armies, most enemies will be coming towards you, and most of the time they'll be in transports. So what do? Blow the fuck out of the transports, and then next turn, Melta gun the shit out of what was there. Easy peasy. You just got to be patient. You just got to be careful that you protect them as well, because obviously if you have them at the very front of the squad, they'll die first, and you won't get to use them. So have them about the middle of the blob. That's on the attack. So basically, on the attack, press forward, conga line backwards, use your las cannons to cover fire, and when you get nice and close, Melta gun them. Melta guns also work well in a power blob, because they're assault weapons, so you can fire those shots off, charge in, and finish off what was left over. Now on the defense, Melta guns are really good, because imagine you've got something like a Wolf Star, or just Thunderwolves in general, or a big blob of Death Company, or Wolfen, and Wolfen are all the rage these days. You've got you instant kill Wolfen, remember? So you've got a big blob or big unit of bullshit coming towards you. Suddenly the short range doesn't matter so much, because the enemy is more than happy to get close to you. What you then do is you create this tactic, which the Melta gun is absolutely essential for, called the Melta Hedge, or the Melta Wall, or the Melta Phalanx, whatever you want to call it. But basically, and this works particularly well with multiple small unit guard, with MSU. What you do is you have your let's say you're facing off someone who uses Wolfstar, or an assault-based army. What you do is you have a couple of units, 2 or 3 units of conscripts up front. Though their job is to absorb the charge. Behind those conscripts, you have your Melta gun las cannon squads. Sometimes, maybe in multiple small units, maybe in a blob. Best in multiple small units. The Melta Hedge works best with MSU. What happens is your enemy will crash against the conscripts and then kill them. And then you will Melta gun them as they stand out in the open. But you'll make sure that when they charge again, they can only hit one of your small squads. They wipe out the 10-man squad, and you've got another Melta guns on left, on to the right, in front of them. And basically, you just have these overlapping walls of Melta guns. And basically, what it means is you get, every time your enemy wants to charge you, they take Melta gun hits to the face. And every time that they wipe themselves out of a charge, they take more Melta gun hits to the face. And it's just this basically overlapping walls of Melta guns. And it's really effective. I have used this tactic on many, many occasions in my pure infantry army to grind down Wolfstar, Dogstar, Death Company Star, Death Star, literally the Death Star, Wolfen. It just works. You just got to do as much damage. You know, if they're invisible, it's a lot harder. But if you're taking sort of like I like to do, like 18 Melta guns in these nice little small, 15 Melta guns in these small squads. You know, you're still hitting them 2 Melta guns a turn, 2 to 3 Melta guns a turn. That means you're doing that damage, even if they're invisible. It just works because most of these units, most of these Death Stars have really got like sort of 10, 15 models in them. And it's, you know, against Dogstar, you might be saying, well, they'll have a 5-up invuln. Yeah, but you insta kill them. They're toughness 4. You insta kill them with the Melta gun. So it works really well. That's my Melta hedge tactic. I'll probably do a actual video with me, like I did with the platoon one, explaining how that goes together. But the Melta hedge is a really good tactic. So what weapon does the Melta gun pair well with? It doesn't pair well with the heavy bolter or the Melta gun, heavy bolter or the mortar or the autocannon for obvious reasons. They are anti-infantry weapons, and you don't want your Melta gun messing around with those. You want to specialise your squads. Remember what we said: specialise or die. It can work well if you're on a budget. It can work well with the missile launcher, but it's not great in the missile launcher squad simply because the missile launcher is only AP 3 and the Melta gun is AP 1. Where the Melta gun works best in, as I've basically already said, las cannon Melta gun squads. They're the cheaper option for the go big or go home strategy. I quite like now plasma gun las cannon. For a big time it was always Melta gun las cannon, and then I kept getting a bit frustrated with the short range, so I switched to plasma las cannon squads, and that's working quite nicely, although now I occasionally do miss not having the strength 8 and the Melta special rule, but that's a different video. Melta gun and las cannons work quite well simply because the las cannons will shoot strength 9 AP2 shots up range, and your Melta guns will eventually get to fire at the same target. They complement each other. They're both anti-tank weapons, or I should say anti-anything weapons. And like I said, it's the cheaper option for the go big or go home strategy. It saves you 5 points a squad. Now, so yeah, las cannons and Melta guns are the only 2 weapons you should really be pairing together. Okay. Now, where does the Melta gun find a home in the platoon? Honestly, it's only really in the infantry squads. The las cannon, Melta gun squads, they just work well together. You know, they're not going to blow apart an entire army in one go, but they do the thing that Guard does best: grinding down your opponent. If you know you're only going to hit half the time, but when you do hit, you're going to hurt them. Which means basically, if you fire a blob, if you fire 3 or 4 Melta guns a turn, guaranteed to kill yourself 1 to 2 models every turn. Then the las cannons go, that's another 1 to 2. Then the las guns compile in, that'll be another 1 to 2. And you'll find that you can chew, 1 blob in 1 turn, can chew through, a Space Marine squad pretty easily. You know that you will find that. So yeah, it doesn't really work well in the platoon command squad because you're only ballistic skill 3, and it's a lot of points. It's 40 points to spend on a platoon command squad, which means the platoon command squad is very expensive then, and it's just going to attract a lot of attention, and you can't really protect the Melta guns. If you want to take Melta guns in chimeras, take veterans. Don't take platoon command squads. Likewise with special weapons squads, you're only ballistic skill 3. You're only a small unit. The moment that you appear on the table, the moment that your opponent sees that, if you front stogging your special weapons squad, I should say, they'll just get swatted aside. And if you're dropping special weapons squads down out of like Valkyries with Meltas, ask yourself this: can't you just do the job better with a squad of Scions? Scions will do it better, much better. So there you go. Melta gun, I'm a big fan. Not a lot of negative things to say about it. When it hits hard and does a hell of a lot of damage. It has some disadvantages. It only fires one shot. It's short ranged, but you can, if you push forward from the beginning of the game, push, never ending infantry wave advance, combined with the fact the enemy most of the time is going to be coming towards you, means the Melta gun will probably get to fire 3 or 4 turns a game, which is great. And when it does hit, it's going to hurt something. And of course, you can always prescience them with Psychers. They obviously combo really well with orders like Bring It Down or Fire My Target. You know, I mean, we all know the dreaded Space Marine Grav Biker spam. Well, it's not so dreaded when they come flying up to you. White Scar Grav Bikers flying up to you in one go, or Raven Wing flying up to you, and they're like, right, 3 plus Jink, and you go, right, don't give a fuck, fire my target, prescience, rerolling to hit, ignoring your cover, you just die, ha ha ha, dead. Yeah, Melta guns are really fantastic on the defensive, really fantastic. In a platoon, if you want to use them on the attack, either grind forward or drop in a squad of Scions or Melta gun veterans. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. And I will see you guys next time.